Hello, hello, wherever you are in the world. My name is Anja van Rijn. I am a life and business reinvention mentor at Success on Your Own Terms. I help people who are stuck at crossroads to step into the driver's seat of their life so that they can reinvent it. Today, it is my immense pleasure to be interviewing Maja Kazazic. She is an internationally recognized motivational speaker, an entrepreneur, a strategist, and a survivor. She has taken the lessons of a life forever altered by what could have been catastrophic wounds of war and parlayed them into a vision and passion for providing the solutions and insights people and organization needs to create positive, inspired changes in their lives. Welcome to the Woman Who Makes Things Happen show, Maja. How are you?
Good. Thank you very much for having me.
It's my pleasure. I read your story. It's amazing. Wow. You're going to share that with us.
Sure.
Tell us about it, because I read it, but the listeners didn't.
Well, I'll give you a quick version. I'm originally from Bosnia. I live in the United States now in warm Florida. And when I was 16, the war was raging in Bosnia. And during that time, my family and I, we were stuck with 60,000 other civilians between two armies. Wow. In a city of Mostar. We had no food, no water, no electricity, no medicine, no outside contact. We literally tried to figure out how to survive on our own. And we did. And that was difficult in itself, but we were actually getting bombed by an army every single day. And one afternoon, around 2-3 in the afternoon, a few of my friends were hanging outside, and I heard them talking, and I was upstairs in a condo where we lived. And as I walked in to wash my hands to the bathroom, as I heard them talk, I wanted to talk to them. I wanted to be part of the what's happening, you know. And I ran to the window, and I looked downstairs, and they were too far away, and I couldn't really hear them. So I decided I was going to run downstairs and talk to them. Mm-hmm. Because there's bombing happening every day. My mom didn't want me to go, and being 16 years old, I thought that I could just sneak out. And, while she was in the kitchen doing something, I saw her back turned towards me, and I figured I'm just going to go run downstairs really quick, talk to them, and come back, and she won't even know that I was gone. And as I ran downstairs, just as I got there, I sat on this wall, and the moment I sat there, I actually started choking. It was really the weirdest thing. And I remember thinking, all you have to do is breathe. If you just take one deep breath, you're going to be okay. Mm-hmm. And what I did is actually I put my head into my shirt and started to breathe. And I couldn't understand what was happening. I was just trying to breathe. And then next I could feel my lungs fill up with air. And I took a deep breath, and then I started breathing. I looked around. And as I looked around, I saw this horrific scene. What has happened was a rocket-propelled grenade had exploded about 6 to 10 feet from my friends and me, and all 5 of my friends were killed instantly, and I was severely injured.
Wow.
It was one of the defining moments in my life,
I can imagine. Wow. It's... I was going to say it's funny. No, it's not the right term, of course, but how we all go through tough things in our lives, and we always think that it's so terrible, etc. But when we hear stories like yours, wow, we start realizing that our stories are not that bad after all. So what happened afterwards? How did you...
Well, it's just a comment on what you just said is it's really all I always, when I do speaking engagements, I speak to a lot of associations, a lot of corporations, and one of the things we talk about is positivity and overcoming any obstacles. And what I tell them that everything is a matter of perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what's beautiful about it, that perspective is a matter of choice. So if you want to look at it in terms, I have sort of a little saying that says positivity is a matter of perspective, and perspective is a matter of choice. So in essence, you choose whether you're going to be positive and happy about anything that's happening to you in your life. So in that particular instance, for example, I could have looked at myself as a victim and said, you know what, why did this happen to me? Why me? Why for me? But no, instead I chose to look at it differently, just put a little spin on it, and I looked at 5 dead bodies next to me as a proof that I was actually a victor. I was a hero.
Yeah.
I was the lucky one. So it's like exactly the same situation, but you actually just look at it in a completely different light.
Yeah, you are preaching to the converted, because that's typically what I help my clients do, and what I have done multiple times in my own life, but not with circumstances that are that dramatic. So that's very powerful. Indeed. And
that just shows as a testament that no matter how dramatic your circumstances are, you can still always find that silver lining. You can still change your perspective, because it's really all how you look at it. It doesn't matter how dramatic the situation is, whether you lost your job, lost a loved one, or, barely survived, as in my case, But in that particular, after that happened, there was a lady there and her 4-year-old daughter who were sitting next to me, and they were both killed. And their husband was actually in a window watching the whole thing, just the way I was a few minutes ago. And in that instance, you could see that gentleman. I mean, he lost his entire family literally in that instance. It was just really hard. But he came down to help, because he's a nurse by training, and but he was apologizing to me and crying and saying, "I'm sorry, Maja, I can't help you. My family's dead." So it's a devastating moment for him. And another friend of mine who actually lives in London now, she was also watching the whole thing, and she came downstairs running to try to help. But when she got down, it was such a horrific scene that she would get scared and she would run back up. She kept going up and down, running, kind of screaming, trying to decide what to do, because it's shocking for everybody.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So, without any, medical help, and we were, like I said, 60,000 civilians, did nothing. A gentleman, a father, one of the kids that was killed with me, he actually picked me up, carried me, and put me in the car. And we sped down to this makeshift hospital, which was a few miles down the road. In that hospital, like I said, it was a makeshift hospital. So it was the only commercial building that was in that part of the town, because we were surrounded by 2 armies. Basically, it was overcrowded, because we had about 10, 15 people get killed and injured every single day. They just brought me in. They put you in a stretcher, and you're in a stretcher until you actually show signs that you might survive, and that's when they might give you a bed somewhere if the room opens up. And I kept asking, I'm a daddy's girl, so I kept asking, where's my father? And finally, someone had gone and grabbed my father, and he showed up, and all I wanted to ask him was one thing, which was, am I going to be able to run and play soccer again?
Wow.
And he looked at me up and down, and, I didn't realize the severity of my injuries at the time, but I did see his, eyes crease up a little bit and got a little teary, and he said, oh yeah, you're going to be as good as new in a few weeks. And that's when I passed out. Little did I know that few weeks is going to turn into basically 15 years before I was able to run again. But, it was enough positivity and hope to keep me going to the thing.
What an inspiration. So what do you, other than talking about this perspective and the choice you make of changing that perspective, what kept you going? Because 15 years before you start running again is a very long time, and you must have had your ups and downs. So what do you see in that journey? What do you see as your successes? What do you see as challenges?
Life is, I think the definition of life is successes plus failures equal life. I don't think we can get around either one of those things. If you try not to succeed, eventually you will. If you try not to fail, eventually you will. So yes, my road to even to today has been very turbulent, and I've gone through lots of ups and downs, and I still go through it. It's just been really trying at times. And I felt like always I was able to get through it somehow. And a few years ago, when I decided to do motivational speaking, I actually sat down because people kept asking me exactly the same question you're asking me. How do you do it? How did you get through everything? Because you have to know, I was evacuated eventually from there with no English. I didn't speak any English. I was severely injured. So when I left, the only thing I had was the underwear that I had on me, a t-shirt that's been used up, a piece of rock that represents something from my home city, and a teddy bear, which is what I used to bite for pain, because we didn't have any pain management. So that's where I left, without my parents, which is my number one support. And I somehow made it to 2006, where I started my own company, my own business, which was successful, still going on for now 10 years. And to try to figure out how do you go from there to there, I actually sat down and reviewed my entire life. And I realized that there are 7 building blocks that all of us have to go through in order to be successful in anything. Whether it's a personal goal, whether it's a small goal, whether it's a corporate business goal, professional, emotional, we all have to go through it. And I've seen people address every one of these blocks separately, or maybe 1 or 2 at a time, but nobody's put it together in order that I have put it. And what I realized is they have to be, the building blocks cannot sustain on their own, and they have to be in that particular order. So I came up with these 7 building blocks, and I tested them against every successful individual, every successful corporation, every triumph, every failure, and they seem to really hold up. And those building blocks are really what kind of has kept me going without me actually knowing it.
And so do you mind sharing them? I mean, we have only a little time, so we won't be able to develop, but it would be interesting to...
Sure, absolutely. I'll just briefly go over them, what they are. The number one building block, which is a base for everybody, and I want the audience to know that these are building blocks. They're not steps, which means you have to build one, then not the other. If you remove one, you risk crumbling everything down. So the first one is your support system. You have to have a support system in anything you do. You cannot do it by yourself, period. And it's the most important one. And this is not just a support system where you have people that telling you, oh, good job, you're amazing, okay? Those are your mommies of the world, which is what I call them. You got your mama to tell you you're good at everything. I'm talking about people who are going to help you with the constructive criticism and help you actually support you in your goal. Once you have that support system, then what you're going to end up developing is the second building block and working on it with your support system, which is the positivity. You have to be able to look at any given situation, like I did, in a positive perspective. You have to change your perspective to look at it positively. Once you have your support system and your positivity, then the next thing you're going to start realizing is that your potential. That's your third building block. You're going to realize that you can do anything. It's just a matter of what you want to do and what are your priorities. Once you realize your potential, now you're all hyped up, you're ready to go, and you want to start doing things, kind of like, okay, this is all exciting, well and good, but what do we do Monday, And that's when you have to figure out how to break everything you're trying to do into smallest possible steps, which is your fourth building block, which is called small steps. Break it down as much as you can into small steps. Once you start breaking everything into small steps, as small as you can, you grow naturally into the next building block, which is discipline. You have to have discipline in order to get anything done. And in order to have discipline, you got to have those small steps. It's very hard to be disciplined when you've got these huge changes in your life. Now that you're disciplined and you've been doing this for a while, you naturally move into tenacity. You've been doing it for a while. It's not such an overwhelming process. You've got your support system. You're looking things positively, and you're not going to give up. That's why you can take 15 years to learn how to run like I did. You know, you just don't want to give up. And once you have that last building block, which is the tenacity, you just naturally move into results, because it's just the last building block. You get your results because it's just, why would you give up? You just get there naturally. So those are the 7 building blocks that I realized that.
And I would definitely say that I fully agree with them, because I was writing them down and comparing them to what I'm doing with my clients. And the first one I call base camp. So that's a support system. We're talking about the same. Positivity, I'm talking about mindset. Potential for me is throughout. It's always looking at, so I don't have it separately as a step. The small steps is what I call the project plan. That's the discipline for me is key. I keep talking about it, and tenacity is what I call focus, and then the results. So definitely it's a system that works.
It is a system that works. And I try to break it down. And if you lose one of them, you know, like I mentioned, people do address them. You'll hear people talk about discipline. Talk about positivity. And I think that's why people get stuck, because they do one or the other. They do really good, but they're not doing them all in order, and they're not doing them all, you know, they're losing one. They get the support system. And they're like, okay, I'm good. They move to the next one, and then they lose that, and it just doesn't work. You've got to have them all in order. And it's a process.
What I find interesting in what you describe, and you started by saying that you also have your ups and downs. Welcome to humanity. But what I find interesting is that a lot of people, when they go through a process like that, they will easily give up when something is not working. And that's where I keep saying, instead of beating yourself up like it doesn't work, it doesn't matter, it doesn't work anyway, ask yourself how you can readapt it, why it didn't work, and what you can readapt to make it work, and just get on track again. And that's obviously what you're doing.
Absolutely. I mean, that you're hitting the nail on the head. So I'm a firm believer that whenever a problem is created, at that particular moment, a solution is there. So you have to find it. Your job, it's like a game to me. Your job is just to find a solution. The solution exists. It's just a matter of you taking the time and finding it. And I think for that particular reason, small steps are crucial, because if you take big steps, then you get big mistakes and you get big challenges. If you have small steps, it's easy. You know, even a failure is a smaller failure, so it's much easier to overcome it. Yeah. And also, quite frequently, I think people don't like to break things into small steps because they're so excited about the end result, and they skip 2-3 steps at a time. But there is a pleasure in taking small steps and those little small victories. You know, once you learn those little small victories, they become almost like an addiction, because each time you get that little surcharge of serotonin that you just love, and no longer you're not overindulging yourself on these big win the lottery successes. You've got lots of these doses on a daily basis where you just feel good about yourself.
Which leads me also to the importance of celebrating those small successes, because quite often people won't take stock of them. And they are a key element, because that's what is building up your confidence also to go to the next level.
Absolutely. You know, I may be crazy, but sometimes I'll have so many things that I do and I go get them done, but then later I'll go write them out, so I could cross them off the list, even though they're already done. Yeah. And that is that feeling good that you're like celebrating that. Even that little tiny things are just crossing it off. It feels good. And I think we need to recognize that and keep doing it over and over again. And that's why I think, the small steps is being one of the crucial ones. And I think where a lot of people get hung up, because everybody's so excited about the end result.
Absolutely. I always say, don't try to eat the entire elephant in one. Yes. So coming back to your business. So what made you decide at some point that you wanted to talk about all of that?
Talk about my business or
your journey. How did you decide to make a business out of it? Public speaking.
Well, okay. I didn't know if you were talking about my software business, but yeah, the speaking came up a few years ago. My company was doing pretty well. I was making living and doing everything I wanted to do, and I was living comfortably. And I remember thinking, okay, so this is it. I went through everything I went through, and now I collect a paycheck and wait to die and travel the world. I mean, this, I was like, it has to be something bigger and better than that. So I started getting that itch. The second thing that I was really contemplating all the time was, how do I thank all the people that have helped me? All the people that were in my support system, because I literally had thousands of people, not hundreds, thousands of people help me. And how do you even fathom helping those people? I mean, I was just trying to think, do I throw a big party for everybody? I don't even know some of the people anymore. I mean, it's just really overwhelming. And what I realized was the best thing I can do is I can make this huge difference in their life. So maybe somewhere they're going to see me in this speaking engagement, or they're going to read about me in the paper. They're going to say, you know what? I was a part of that.
Yeah.
I helped make that happen. And it just was so overwhelming, and it fit perfectly to where I said, okay, that's it. I'm going to now start. It's payback time, which is what I call it now. It's payback time.
Beautiful.
Now I go out and I speak, and I, love to reach out, and I try to do as much as I can to make as much difference as I can. So all of those that help me can just be proud of what I'm doing.
And so that is really your business today? That's what you do for a living, the public speaking?
Yes, that's all I do.
Oh, yeah. So there's not one single person that you can miss. They will end up hearing you one way or the other.
Well, that's the goal. So hopefully, because the person that actually saved me, like I said, we were stuck between two armies, so there was no way in and out. And one day I was laying in bed, and this lady showed up with an interpreter, and her name was Sally Becker. And I didn't speak in English, and the interpreter said, Sally got her permission to rescue a few kids out of this war zone. You're one of the candidates. If you want to go, we're leaving in 20 minutes.
Wow.
And so literally 20 minutes later, I found myself on the stretcher leaving with this stranger who I didn't know anything about until a few years ago.
At 16.
At 16. And I thought she was actually a nurse, but it turns out she's a painter from London.
Wow.
So she lives in England, and she actually ended up saving like hundreds of children after that. She's the most amazing woman I've ever met. I would never be able to do what she does. I mean, I met her quite a few years later because we lost touch. She literally just saved me and gave me to people who took care of me, and went back and started saving more children. So I didn't even know her name, completely. And I didn't know what she did or anything. And eventually we found each other, and I had a chance to meet her, and she's just amazing. I believe she has a book out. And we call her, the city that I'm from is called Mostar. And we call her the Angel of Mostar because she came in and just saved children. So, wow. But she's your native, she's in your neck of the woods. So that's what I'm saying. So people like that, from there I was transferred to Germany, Frankfurt, Germany. I was there for quite a few months getting surgeries, a couple surgeries a week, continuously. So I don't know all those people, but I'm hoping, they're going to get reached, and they're going to say, yeah, I remember that little girl. We gave her the first shower, So that's what I'm hoping is going to happen.
Oh, that's amazing. I love it. And so what I would like also people to better understand is what you are capable of doing now, because you made it happen. So what are the things that you are doing today that you would never have thought before with an amputation that you would be able to do?
One of my favorite phrases is, you can't do that. Because Because when I hear that, it just makes me want it that much more. So I would, to be perfectly honest, I don't think there is anything I couldn't have done.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, I mean, I go windsurfing, I play golf. I mean, I ran a marathon. I don't run a marathon not because I don't have a prosthetic, because I don't have a leg and I wear a prosthetic. I don't run a marathon because I'm lazy. You know, I do play tennis. I love tennis. I love golf. I love windsurfing. So I just, I did it. Even one of the things that I did that I loved doing was playing polo. I took some polo lessons, and that was really phenomenal. I mean, to be on a horse and to manage the horse and actually have a stick and hit the ball, it's just really, really unbelievable. So just because I don't have a leg, and anybody who doesn't have a leg out there who's watching this, there's nothing you can do. I mean, it's just all mental. You know, I've seen people who have far greater, far less injuries than I do, and they're unable to do certain things because they're blocking themselves. Yeah. And one thing I do want to mention is I just recently adopted a Great Dane, and her name is Rosie, and Rosie wears a prosthetic leg. So if you know Great Danes, they're huge dogs, and she's still a puppy, and when you slap a prosthetic leg on a Great Dane, on the puppy dog, she just goes off because she literally has no mental barriers. You cannot tell that she has a prosthetic. If I could put pants on her or some fur and cover it up,
no one would notice.
No, no one would notice yet.
Yeah, that's really amazing. So we are unfortunately coming to an end. I really love your energy. What is it that you would want to add for people, you know, who don't dare go after the dreams or who are stuck somehow? What would you like to tell them?
I mean, I would encourage them to write down these building blocks. You know, I'm open for some coaching if somebody needs specific help, but I would encourage them to go down the building blocks and go little by little and to keep moving forward, because no matter where they are in their life and how horrible it is, there's always worse. And I always think that we tend to concentrate a lot more on the grass is always greener. Mm-hmm. And to look at other people and see what's better, what they have. And I think we should flip that. Let's look at what we have that's better than what they have and just be grateful. Because I think any day you're alive and healthy is a good day. You know, everything else will just fall into place.
That's a very, very good tip, yes, to flip that. Excellent, yeah. Where can people find you? MajaSpeaks.com. So if you go M-A-J, and my name is pronounced pronounced Maja, but it's spelled with a J. So M-A-J-A Speaks.com, MajaSpeaks.com. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter and things like that. But on my website, you can kind of go from there. And I believe, you know, there's an email out there if anybody needs to reach and help out. I mean, like I said, I'm in a payback time, so happy because I do some coaching and things like that, workshops. So I'm happy to help anybody do whatever they're trying to do. Perfect. This is amazing. Thank you so much. I hope you come to London soon, because then I'd absolutely want to meet you.
That is my next on the list. I've been there a few times because, like I said, that friend that gave me that teddy bear that I bite on, she actually now also lives in London, and I went to see her a couple times, but it's time for me to go again. So
cute. Perfect. Thank you so much. So for the listeners, if you too want to reinvent your life, you can book a reinvention consultation with me, complimentary, of course, on my website, www.agnesvanrijn.com, ANYESVANRHIJN.com. Have a fabulous time. Thank you.
Thank you.